funnily enough, this story has a range hazard in it. But the range hazard is my wife, Liz, who couldn't be here tonight. You may have heard from some of my former stories here. I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania in what could fairly be termed Appalachia, but came here to central Pennsylvania after school to begin my first job more than 40 years ago. So I've been here quite a while. And I have to say, it wasn't really much of a cultural adjustment to come from southwestern Pennsylvania to come to central Pennsylvania. Most things are pretty similar. There were very few little adjustments I had to make. Like, people laughed at me when I asked them how to get to Lancaster. But other than that, I fit in pretty well and was comfortable here. My wife, on the other hand, came a little bit later, about 25 years ago, and she came from the heart of suburbia in Bucks County outside of Philadelphia. And she grew up in an environment where she thought that all houses had public water and sewer. So when she moved here, she'd never heard of a well or a septic system. And I had to explain to her once at a house we were looking at that it used a cistern for water, and she had no idea what that was and was afraid of it. But another thing, she didn't know the difference between a field full of dairy cows and a herd of beef cattle. She had no idea which was which or why that would be different. And she just ran into little things about central Pennsylvania that she wasn't used to, having grown up in suburbia. And one of the first things that happened to her that I remember is she was working at a law firm in Harrisburg, and the secretary that they had assigned to her came to her the first week she was there and tried to sell her a raffle ticket to benefit her grandson's middle school. And so Liz wanted to be nice and help out her secretary, so she bought the ticket. And then she called me frantically, and she said, "What do I do with this ticket? I just saw on the ticket that the prize, if I win the raffle, is a hunting rifle. I don't know what to do with a hunting rifle. Do I turn it into the police? Or is that even legal for me to own a hunting rifle?" I said, "Don't worry about it. You probably won't win anyway." But anyway, and so we got past that. And then years later, she started her own solo law practice. And so she had to represent clients who were of this area and this culture. One of the first clients she had was talking to her about her fees, and he was a little concerned whether he could afford her or not. And so he said, "Well, would it be okay if I paid you partly in deer bologna?" And she came home from that and said to me, "Is deer bologna some kind of metaphor for a form of payment that I'm not familiar with?" I said, "No, he probably has deer bologna in his freezer and wants to give you that as part of your fee." So I think we did have some excellent deer bologna that winter. And then the one that evokes tonight's story is she had a client who was an older gentleman, and he was an entrepreneur of some kind, and he got along very well with her. He really liked Liz. She's a very friendly and easy person to like. So he invited her to his sportsman's club. And she said, "Oh, yeah, sure, I'll come to the sportsman's club." And he said, "Okay, why don't you come to the sportsman's club this Friday evening, and I'll show you how to do trap shooting." And she's like, "I don't know what that is, but okay." So she comes home and tells me that, and then I tried to explain to her what trap shooting was. And she said, I don't want to go do that by myself. Will you come with me, sort of as protection or whatever? And I said, "Okay." So we go out to the sportsman's club, and this guy he clearly was enjoying being in the role of teaching Liz how to shoot a shotgun and look for the clay targets and all that. But he didn't really like the fact that I was there. He didn't really invite me, and he wasn't all that happy about me being there. But he came up with something that I could do. He put me over on a little chair that was like a pedestal. It was a metal contraption, and it was the thing that threw the clay targets out in the air for the person to shoot. So he showed me how to do it, and there's a stack of clay targets there, and they're all lined up in the apparatus. And all you have to do is pull this lever, and it fires a clay target off into the air across the path of where the shooter is, and then the shooter has to try to hit it. So he explained that to me, and he said, when I yell pull, you pull that lever, and the target thing will go out. So I said, okay. He went back over to Liz, who's about 20 yards away at the shooting range, and he's showing her everything she needs to know about how to fire the shotgun. And I don't know if any of you have ever had the experience of having both barrels of a shotgun pointing right at your face. But I was sitting there in this chair, and they already had the earplugs in. I didn't think they could hear me. He's showing her how to fire this gun, but she's holding the gun like this, and it's pointed right at me. And I'm looking at it like, wait a minute. And so I said, do you have the safety on? And he finally heard me, and he said, oh, no, I take the safety off of all my guns. I don't believe in safeties. And I'm like, then could we possibly move her aim a little bit so that I have some feeling of safety over here? So he did that, and we all survived, and it turned out Liz is a very good shot. She did very well hitting the targets. So, if anything happens to me, and she later says that she didn't mean to do it, don't believe her.